Let's go to Jennifer in Welcome to Miami. What's up, Jennifer?
Hey, what's up?
Partying. What are you up to?
Oh, still in this chilly weather. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Is it chilly in Miami?
I mean, it's like 75.
The salt trucks are out driving around. No!
Don't judge me.
That's like a balmy August day in the north. All right, so what's going on?
Okay, so I have the most wonderful question for you. I've been really dealing with this the past few years. How do I discuss past marital abuse with my children without putting something on them, without being, disrespectful to their father, but also being authentic? I mean, they were there, they know to an extent that things were different than maybe some of their friends' home life. But I've really been at a loss lately.
How old are your kids?
They range in age from 10 to 25.
Okay. Do they still have contact with their dad?
Yes. Now they do, yes.
Now they do? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of abuse was it?
I was married for over 2 decades, and I ended up working for 3 years. It started off as kind of like a emergency safety plan kind of thing when I was still terrified to try to leave again. And then it ended up being more of an escape plan with the local police department and 2 different therapists. Obviously, my children didn't know that, but it was pretty much everything. And then add a little evil on top of that. I was thinking the other day, if there was an ACEs score for being married, mine would be like a 13, if that was a good problem.
So,
not to be dramatic or anything.
No. But, so you got beat up a lot?
Not initially, but as the years progressed, yes, it started. The physical actually really started when I was pregnant with my youngest. And, I have truly been crying out to God in the middle of being told I was going to be murdered.
Okay.
And a lot.
Oh, so there was psychological abuse on top of the physical abuse?
Yes. Okay. And it has made it very challenging, especially with my older children, because my character assassination started when they were very, very small. Things like, who do you love more, mom or dad? Right. Or if mom and dad ever got a divorce, you're going to go with daddy, right? And this is at a time when I didn't know at the time that he was being unfaithful to me again, but, and I had never, ever, divorce had never even been uttered, where anything to do with my side of the family was always very, very bashed and obviously isolated. It got to a point, it started, but I had no frame of reference for a healthy relationship. It was just very, very, very isolating, but he's such a beautiful, charming, successful, intelligent, giving man. And so when he started even realizing towards the end, I was learning some boundaries and how to distance in a way. He had started really going out of his way to say things about me in our very small local community that would make anything that I said maybe not believed or distrusted. And with our children, he would always say, you're such a liar, just for everything. And it was very interesting I was told at the end, a lot of gaslighting, that my unforgiveness of the past was what was holding back our relationship, that I really he thought I had mental issues, and if I ever left him, that he would insist on a psychological evaluation, that maybe I needed to be on medication. It was a lot of not just severe physical, but all of the things that have made it very confusing for especially my older children, where they looked at me and said, I just don't know what to believe. Sure. And I had never tried to defend myself because I didn't want to bring them in the middle, but I realized that he was saying things. And it, really put a strain on our relationship.
Sure.
because I wasn't saying anything, and the other side was saying a lot, and 99% of it was a lie.
So at 25, your 25-year-old either is showing the same psychopathology as their dad or is beginning to put two and two together.
She actually has, she's my only daughter.
Okay.
She has quite severe intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
And she read through it all from the beginning. And it has taken a lot for her to now even have relationship in a way. He's been sober for a little over a year. Mm-hmm. And that's the longest that I have seen, which I know sounds awful, but in a lot of ways it's so much scarier because he can be more conniving. And I know this sounds bitter, and I don't mean it that way.
No. Hold on. Let me stop for a second. How long have y'all been divorced?
It has been over 3 years.
I can feel the terror that still pulses through your veins.
Yeah.
Listen. You're literally unable to answer a yes or no question because your brain starts churning so fast for the 40 different ways I can use what you just said against you. And you got to come up with another reason, another solution, and a way to diffuse it, and a way to move it, and push it. Let's push it left. Like, whoa, it's okay, but then we're going to do this. And you have to move like that because your body recognizes one alarm system, and it's terror. Right?
Correct. 100%.
Okay.
I've become a politician. How do I answer this without getting into trouble?
And listen, that is the part that, so to answer your question, like very, very directly, with adult children, I will answer questions honestly when they ask. Or if they're about to do something that I think is going to get them hurt.
Okay.
I will not go throwing grenades. And I will also preface it with this one important thing. Kids know they are equal part mom and dad. And so when they find out something evil about one of the parents, then they cannot help it but internalize that therefore so am I. Right? And so all of those conversations have to be prefaced with, I will tell you about what happened when, or dad says you, whatever. Or even if you circle back to your 21-year-old and said, hey, a year ago you said that dad told you that I was crazy and I had mental health issues and all this. There's way more to this story. And one day if you ever want to know, I promise to be honest with you, even when it's hard.
Okay.
And leave it there. Your 25-year-old who struggles with intellectual disabilities, sometimes, not always, folks who struggle with intellectual disabilities become savants at reading social cues.
Oh my gosh. You nailed it.
And so
Absolutely.
She may struggle with reading. She may struggle with arithmetic.
Yeah.
But God knows she knows relationships because that's the way her brain has had to evolve to survive.
Yeah.
And she might not be able to put her finger on it, but she knows that guy's not. His body energy is telling me something different than the words coming out of his mouth, and it's disorienting. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes.
And he does a great job telling her that she's dumb or that she's stupid or creating some world where she can only exist with him. Mm-hmm. Fair?
Or doesn't exist at all.
Correct.
He won't even acknowledge that he has a daughter.
There you go. So
because she doesn't play into.
That's right. Doesn't play his rules. Doesn't play his game.
Yes.
You still do.
Yes.
You're still
I still
participating.
Need to survive.
Yes. And the greatest gift you can give your children at this point is not a story or a narrative. That will come down the road. The greatest gift you can give your kids is to begin healing. Yes. And you haven't done that yet.
I feel like I've come a really, really long way. And I'm thankful. I know I'm not, even close to being there, but I'm so grateful. I've done a lot of hard work.
Good.
I think what this has come up is my oldest son has expressed some like hurt and frustration with me because I was Dad's biggest cheerleader, and he because he has experienced the mask flip when there wasn't sobriety all the time. And so for a very short time, other people
just the way you said that's so great. When there wasn't sobriety all the time. When my husband was an abusive, violent drunk.
Well, even after I divorced him.
I know. So
yeah.
Here's what will happen. And this, please hear the loving spirit with which I'm about to say this, okay?
Okay.
Please. Because I'm walking a dangerously thin razor, and I probably wouldn't bring this up if you and I were in counseling and therapy together for a couple of sessions, because this is too soon, but I've only got you for a few minutes, okay?
Oh, no, go ahead. I love it.
Your child is right to ask you, why didn't you protect us?
Yes.
They are right to ask that question. And as a terrified, frightened, powerless person in a highly abusive relationship, there's not an answer for that question. Right?
Yes. That's what I have grieved. That is the conversation that I have had at times, or whether it was writing a letter, a couple of times in person, specifically with my older children.
Possibly both. Possibly writing the letter and but reading it to them.
No, I have done both.
Okay.
I have apologized to them for not protecting them.
And I think, hold on. They need to hear you apologize to you.
Yeah.
Because the way you are communicating now, you still don't believe that you have needs or value. I can hear it in you. Even this call is, how can I fix their life? Not recognizing that the greatest gift you can give them is you anchoring into something firm, anchoring into something, into bedrock.
Can you explain?
When you are in a committed, highly abusive relationship, you're a kite in the wind.
Yes.
That is occasionally pulled down to be set on fire or stomped on and then sent back up into the air. And when you sever that relationship, the reason that relationship is so hard to sever is you know that that's going to cut that kite string, and then you are tossed to the wind. And if you look at the data, women who leave abusive men, they fall into poverty with higher rates. Everything in their life goes down. And frustratingly, it often works inversely for men. The abusive guy ends up better off financially, ends up with a better fill in the blank, right?
Right.
And so you hang on, because I don't know where I end up if I cut this line. And you summoned the bravery and the courage and the strength that millions of abused women before you have summoned, and you cut that line. And all of a sudden you realized you were on the ground the whole time.
And I agree. And I also think that one of the biggest things that I didn't know that I had to learn was, I knew it inside of me instinctively, leaving. People would be like, "Why? If someone got a win, why don't you leave? Why don't you?" He cheats. He does all the things, and it's because when you make that decision, or you even start to pull away, it's actually more dangerous for you.
That's exactly
for
right.
such a time.
That's right.
It's you appeasing seems like a safer place for such a long time until it isn't anymore, because you can't appease.
That's right.
As so it's a big deal. And I recently lost one of my sons. He was killed just a few months ago.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
so I had a lot of this resurface. A lot that I really thought I had worked through, because I've done a lot of hard work.
Well, Jennifer, you lost a son?
Yes.
How old?
He was almost 21. He was killed. He didn't pass right away, but he passed about a week and a half after.
What happened?
There's a lot more to it than this, but essentially, he was crossing the street after some other things had happened. His car was no longer functioning to drive, and 3 or 4 men in a car hit him on the street and left him for dead.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Have you had to grieve this all by yourself?
No, I've had a wonderful, wonderful, gracious support system of some family and close friends that have really stepped up. It's been amazing. Humans are awesome.
Yeah.
I've really been grateful. But I think with that, all the things that I hadn't done in a really long time, like wake up in the middle of the night from bad dreams about my ex-husband, or even just feeling, I think that as the numbness is wearing off, because like you have to be numb for so long to survive.
That's right.
And as you de-thaw, I'm realizing how angry I am.
Yes. And you're allowed to be angry. And you've never been allowed to be angry before.
Correct. But I don't want it to be put on my children.
If you don't let them know that you are angry, they will feel it on you and they will blame themselves. Or they will, in a perverse, sideways way, try to do some reverse algorithm math and be like, well, maybe dad was right.
Yeah.
You have to tell them how devastated you are.
Yeah.
How just raged out angry you are. You have to. And you have to allow your body to experience this. This is grief. And you've had people walking alongside you and bringing you casseroles and showing up with you and taking care of your lawn, and they've been really, really remarkable.
Yeah.
But you got to be sad.
And my kids have commented that hasn't happened for their father.
Of course.
And I don't know how to answer that.
He has chosen not to surround himself with people who love him.
There we go.
That's his choice. I'm sad for him, but that's the choice that he made.
Yeah.
As often as you can, make moving forward conversations about you. Okay? What you felt. I didn't feel safe. Why didn't you feel safe? To your 15-year-old, it's adult conversations. It was just a scary time. I was younger. And I didn't fully understand my own strength, and I didn't fully understand what being married was like. I'll talk to you more about when you're older. To your 25-year-old, I was scared because your dad told me he would murder me.
Yeah.
Right? You see the difference there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say some hard things about your father. I need you to look at me and believe me when I say I do not see any of this in you.
Yeah.
You're an amazing young son, young daughter, young whoever.
Yeah, that's been the struggle. My oldest son was the one who chose to stay with dad full time. And he would comment to me at times, but Mom, if I leave, he literally stepped into my shoes, where walking in and, dad's threatening to kill himself and all those things. Because he realized as people were detaching after so much time, like, oh gosh, I need to reel him back in. Or that's what I'm assuming. And, that's been such the struggle is that I want to run in there and grab my child and say, you can't have him. Not because I don't want him to have a relationship with his father, but because it's been so devastating to watch my child choose or even be manipulated to choose to stay when it's hurting him. And he even has said to me at times, Mom, I've wished at times that Dad was dead, not because I want him to die or hurt, but then he would be at peace and we would be at peace. And yet he still chooses his father in so many ways. I feel so hurt. Like, he feels that he needs to choose sides.
How old is he?
He's 22.
Saying something like, your daddy's not well.
Yeah. For sure.
And it's unbelievable to me, the young man you are, that you love hurting people so well.
Absolutely.
And anytime you want to come home, my door is always open for you.
He knows. But he could never do that.
But
it wouldn't be safe.
It's just saying it again and saying it again and saying it again.
Okay.
And what I'll tell you is, if something is not safe, you talked about it earlier. You start making plans and you start like, okay, it's not safe here, so we're gonna have a strategy for calling the cops, for doing this, for doing this, for doing this. If something isn't safe, that's the bell. That is the alarm system. You got to get out of that situation. Your 22-year-old son cannot be responsible for an adult father who keeps threatening to kill himself. He's not trained for that. He doesn't have the professional skills for that. He's too enmeshed in that relationship. He can't do it. And so I'm going to call 911 every single time. I'm going to tell my son, neither you or I are trained for this, so we're just going to start calling 911 every single time. Every single time we're calling him. Because we can't handle it. And if Dad says, if you call 911 again, I'm going to... Well, Dad, now I'm really going to call him. Because I don't have any other play. I don't know how I can help you. There's so much here, Jennifer. There's so much here. I think the smartest play right now for you is to spend some time grieving your son. I want you to write your son a letter and tell him how much you miss him. And actually, I want you to call an evening together with all your kids here as the holidays are approaching. And I know this call is going to be aired after New Year's, but it's right before Christmas when we're on this call. I want you to invite your kids over for an evening, and I want you all to write your son, their brother who passed away, a letter. Let them know how much they miss him. Let them know how heartbroken they are. And I want you all to share that grief together as a family. And if you need to have one or two friends over because your family doesn't have the practice of shared grief, that's great. If you have a counselor you want to bring over, great. But I think y'all should all write a letter and read them together. And just notice that empty seat there at the table. We miss brother. And then as questions come up with your adult kids, again, let them know, I don't see this in you. But I was young and I was scared and I didn't know where to turn next. And I'm sorry that you went through that. And I'm also sorry that I experienced that. And here we are. And what we can control is what comes next. And what nobody can ever take away is how much I love you to the moon and back. And the moon and back and the moon and back. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. And your kids are lucky to have you, Jennifer. Call anytime. And I'll walk alongside you. Thank you for being brave.